And so by the timing of this video, just so y'all know, it's not at Jump Fest. They didn't make no announcement, but I am hoping that on September 25th, 2024, of its, would that be its 20th or 18th anniversary? I think 18th. Give me 1 second. I'm actually gonna go search this up again. So technically, I'm really looking at, I would say give or take, between September 25th, which is the end date, or October 7th, which is the beginning date, of Katekyo Hitman REBORN. So by the time this video is uploaded, it was from Thursday or Wednesday night, they made the announcement of what series in Weekly Shonen Jump is going to be on what stage for Jump Festa 2025, which is going to be December 21st and 22nd. So just like 3 to 4 days before Christmas. And depending on your region, it can probably show on the 20th or the 21st. At least I know for here, Eastern Standard Time, but everywhere else can be probably the same time or the day after, who knows, or just a few hours ahead or behind. So this week, this video is for Katekyo Hitman REBORN chapter 136 chapter review. And the reason why I'm saying is, even though they didn't announce anything about Reborn like they did 2 years ago for Ron Kamonohashi, they were still selling goods for Katekyo. So the reason why I'm saying September, because Katekyo's anime ended September 25th, 2010. This September will make 14 years since it ended. That's a lot of years. That's more than a decade. But if you want to go further, then I can say 18 years, because the anime made its first appearance broadcasting in Japan on October 7th, 2006. So it can be either of those dates. I'm still going hardcore for this series, but like, bro, this is my second favorite series of all time, right after Gintama. Mind you, Gintama, the reason why I even want it like that, bro, I honestly wanted to come out next year, because at the same time we have Gintama Class Z, Gintama Hen Class Z anime adaptation, I believe. It's probably coming out next year. We don't know exactly when. And on top of that, there's supposed to be some more news dropping for Gintama between next month going into October. So I don't think I'm going to be really covering it on the channel, but I will say this, I will be covering the Gintama anime once more on this channel. I stopped around 2018, but I will be covering back Gintama. Why wouldn't I? It's my second favorite series, so it will be such a pleasure as someone who's a fan of both series, for the anime, for them to drop like a promotional or teaser video first and foremost. But either September 25th, marking the 14th anniversary since the anime ended, or on October 7th, the 18th anniversary when the anime started, and saying that, you know, Katekyo is getting an anime starting next year, and that's a wrap. I already stated, if you guys don't know, now you know, but the minute an anime comes out, I'm going to put a hold on the manga chapter reviews until it catches up to where I last stopped at. And then it's not only just going to be reviews, but it's going to be a compare and contrast video as well, for the differences and similarities from the new anime version to the manga version that we have online. So there's that. But I'm gunning between end of September, early October this year. I'm not going to give up on it. I'm really not going to give up on this series in terms of it getting back another anime adaptation. But nonetheless, with this chapter review of 136, last chapter basically gave you a spoiler in the very beginning with the chapter cover showing a older Gokudera and Yamamoto, and then the ending basically started. So we ended the Varia arc. Now Suna is the successor, because the whole battle was to gain succession, to get the ring and be noted as potential successor for the 10th generation of the Vongola. The 9th is still recuperating and he's still in power, but this was the first step. And so the Varya is getting punished both by Imitsu and by the 9th for his actions, him as well as the rest of the Varya members. Suna and his friends survived and they all had a celebration. And then Suna one day was running around trying to find where is Reborn. I know the thumbnail is going to be like, huh? Why do you put that thumbnail? For those who don't know, you'll eventually find out. But for manga readers and anime onlys who's watched and read this series, shh, keep quiet. But yeah, hence why the thumbnail. So the ending of chapter 135 had Suna running around the neighborhood wondering where is Reborn. Now starting with chapter 136, we had where Reborn, Suna, it starts like quite literally the day before. Right? Before Reborn's disappearance. So Suna is running, and mind you, this is taking place, the beginning of chapter 136 is taking place in between the party and Suna, before Suna lost Reborn. So Suna is running after Lancia and Basil. Mind you, this is not even fully Basil's name. His name goes Basil Isium, but we don't pronounce that. That hurts the tongue. So just Basil. They decide to leave the party early, and decide to go and head back home. And they didn't want to disturb everybody while they're having a good time, celebrating and just chilling and relaxing. So they decide to go back home. Lancia now, he's going back, and his whole point of going back is he wants to repent for being the one, even though he was under the influence, the genjutsu, the illusion of Mukuro, all the way back to the Kyoko arc, the first major arc of the series. So this arc that we're going into, this is the third major arc in terms of action. Okay, after the daily life arc, which was more comedy-based, daily life and everything, the first major serious arc was Kyoko. We just wrapped up the Varya arc, and now we're getting into the third most popular, well-known arc throughout anime and manga if you've been a long time manga and anime fan, right? And this is the arc that the anime wrapped up with 14 years ago. So there's 2 more arcs after this. After this long arc, there's 2 more that has not been brought to watchers' eyes as of yet. Just so you know. So I'll be covering those last 2 arcs when I get to it, right? But Basil said he's been summoned to go back home. They got like a quick summon to head back home and everything. And more likely is to also deal with the fact of what happened that just transpired with you know, the whole battle between the Guardians and between Sansis and Suna. So he's being called back to head base, which is located in Italy. And then going back to Lancia, I think this is the second to last time we're going to see him. And you'll see him way further down in the last 2 arcs of the series. But he's heading back, and also he's trying to atone himself for, again, the actions that he did, taking out his entire family. But obviously we know it's not due to his influence, it was the influence of Mukuro. Now we have where Suna asks him, like, how do you know, or it was more so Reborn that's like, was it Mukuro that told you to come here? And then Lancia goes on saying that originally I wasn't going to come here, but because I was under the influence of Mukuro for so long, there is some type of spiritual connection that we have with each other. So I kind of feel what he's thinking, even if I'm not being controlled by him. And so Mukuro, through that connection, he knew something was amiss in Namimori. So hence why he flew all the way to Japan to go and help Suna during the last stretch of the battle between him and Zanzis in acquiring the Vongola ring. So now he's saying, you know, I did what I had to do, and seeing you again was the plus side to all of this, right? So now I'm just going to head back and, you know, reflect on my life. I have a whole lifetime to think about things and just be a better individual. And so he also, before he departs and leave and everything, he takes out from his blazer, he gives a ring to Suna, and he's saying that this is from my old boss. It may not be as significant to you compared to the Von Gola ring, but I trust you out of anybody else to have this. And Suna is in awe, because he's like, you know, this is something so precious from you because it's from your deceased family, and so you're passing on something that's valuable to you to me. And he feels astounded and everything from that. And also we have where Basil gives Suna something as well, and he's telling him that if anything happens, if there's any emergency that happens, do use it. And while we do have the sentimental moment between seeing old friends having to leave and everything, we have where Lambo comes into the scene and kind of breaks the sentimental value by acting like a kid. I don't know why people hate Lambo. Lambo was literally 5 years old. He is going to be annoying. Once you realize he's a child and he's not 15, 16 or whatever, lay off. But he comes in saying that, oh, I want to go on a Lambo, wants to go on a picnic. Oh, where are you guys going? And then this is where Basil and Lancia leaves, right? And the thing that Basil gave Suna, mind you, before even that, we had this very suspicious figure that was hiding behind one of the houses, watching the whole ordeal happen. Now I know who it is, and those who have read and watched the series know who this individual is, but for the sake of keeping it quiet, we're not going to say. But this individual was watching everything that was happening with the goodbyes and, you know, giving of gifts to just depart for the time being. You'll see these individuals again, but again, it'll be later on. So Reborn is asking Suna, what was the gift that Basil gave you? And then Suna looks at the gift, and of course, it's pills. It's the Hyper Dying Will mode, but in pill form. So from now on, I want you guys to keep in mind and keep this in the back of your head. These, like Basil said, he'll keep them in emergencies. This is a lot better than him getting constantly shot by Reborn. Because for as soon as to go into Hyper Dying Will mode, or even just regular Dying Will mode, he has to constantly get shot by Reborn to enter those modes of himself, right? But now they figure out a way through the mechanics of science to take what was ever in the bullet and put it into pill form. So I know it really sounds bad. It sounds like, yo, Suna, you popping pills? No, it's not a drug. It's not, but it does help Suna. Instead of, like, nobody wants to get shot and they don't. So it's more like, take your vitamins and then you feel better, right? Think of it like that, you know. So Suna's just like, well, I gotta take this. And then Lambo is just like, you know, this is candy. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. And he's not understanding the situation. And Suna's just like, you know, Lambo, stop. This is not candy. This is actually pretty dangerous. And if you try to go into Dying Will mode, one, you'll become more annoying, and two, it's going to be very hard on your body, which is true. We've seen where the very first time Suna went into the Hyper Dying Will mode, he passed out after he came back to for a few days in the Kyoko land. And then he went into it again in the beginning of the Varya arc in order to train to be comfortable. It's like, I think I made a connection to it, but if I didn't, it's like, if you guys remember when it came to Dragon Ball Z, right? And Gohan and Goku went into the time chamber to train and to also get comfortable being Super Saiyans, just consistently in that mode. That was Suna in the beginning of the Varya arc. Because the Hyper Dying Will mode took such taxations on his body physically wise, right? He had to constantly train for that entire week how to be in that mode comfortably, that his body can withstand whatever strains that particular mode, that power that he has. Mind you, his power he already has inside of him. It's just now being brought forward. It just needs an external force to bring something that's internal, external, something on the outside. So it's not a complete different personality. This was always within Suna. It's just that Suna could have never tapped into this. I think the best example, and you'll see this character in the future, but they are no different than their higher hyper dying will mode. They're not. When they use it, they're no different from that mode. They're still the same person. So it's a power that's within that just needs to be brought out. And Suna, being the complete opposite of the dying will mode, needed something to push him to be able to use that power that he was already born with, right? Hence why, if you remember back in the same Vario arc, and Suna got memories after the Golem Mosca incident, and he got the memories from the night when he tapped his forehead. The knight from there knew that Suna was the proper successor, right? Because he felt and saw Suna had a dying will when inside of him. He had the hyper dying will mode, hence why he was picked as successor, and the rest is history. So Reborn, being greatly annoyed by Lambo and his shenanigans, transforms Leon, his little chameleon, on his forehead into looking like the wrecking ball that Lancia, mind you, Lancia also stated, like, bro, because it's too much luggage and I get looks, I left it with the couriers. So he doesn't have it around him all the time. He transformed Leon into a version of that and hit Lambo with it. A complete comedic effect. And it hit Lambo, but Lambo survives. And he's crying and he's like, preserve or anything. And then he takes out the 10-year bazooka, right? And he's yelling at Reborn and everything. And then Reborn picks up something off the ground. It looks like a rock. And then he threw it at Lambo. Lambo ends up firing the 10-year bazooka. But the thing is, when Reborn is telling him, go die because you're being annoying to me right now, he threw it. Lambo got hit, but the 10-year bazooka flew out his hand. But mind you, he already launched a 10-year bazooka. So the bazooka missile is flying through the air. And then both Suna and Reborn is looking. It's like, oh man, this can't be good because one of us is going to get hit. And then Reborn says, hold on, something strange. I can't move. He's trying to get out the way, but his body's literally stuck. And then Suna's just like, huh? Reborn gets shot with the 10-year bazooka. And then we're here like, hold on, Reborn just got hit? You mean to tell me we're going to see the 10-year version of Reborn? Suna here is just like, he's gulping in anticipation because he's like, I wonder what type of person Reborn is going to look like 10 years from now. And then the smoke clears and then you see nothing. There's no 10-year version of Reborn, nothing. And then Suna's just like, he got hit with the bazooka. He was supposed to switch out with his 10-year self, sending his current self to the future while his future self comes to the present time or the past. And Reborn can't be found anywhere. Now, Suna right here, I believe he was trying to deny the worst case scenario, because then he's just like, I'm wondering where Reborn is, and if nobody appears, you know what, let's not think too much about it. He's eventually going to show up after 5 minutes. He dismisses that, but I also think it was also his way of not thinking too far because it might be actually scary. So the next day happens and now he's running around. This goes back to chapter 135, now the ending of it, where he's running around trying to look for Reborn because he's been missing since the day before. Now in comes Haru and Gokudera, who were getting souvenirs and everything, and they're talking about a market that's opening up in Namimori's shopping district. And then Suna is just like, I'm trying to find Reborn. He tells both of them he got hit with the 10-year bazooka and he has not shown up at all. Mind you, he made a slip of a tongue to Haru because Haru doesn't know any of this stuff. Her and Kyoko are the regular civilians in all of this mess. So when he made the slip of the tongue, he's like, oh, Haru was supposed to hear that. But you can't tell from the manga version, but as they stated, Gokudera's face turned pale because he's like, if Reborn got hit with the 10-year bazooka and his future self did not pop up instantly after being hit and he's nowhere to be found, he got it instantly, and hence why I'm thinking that Suna is deliberately not going to that deep end. Because if he was going to worry a lot more, because it's just like, what's happening to Reborn? So all three of them decided, let's split up and see if we can find Reborn. That if he did came back, he's somewhere else around the town, around the city. So they decided to go and split up and see if they can find him. One goes to the school, the other goes back to Yamamoto's house to see if he's there, and Suna obviously runs back home, and he's thinking, you know what, if that's the case, I can probably get Lambo to use the 10-year bazooka on himself, and that way he can ask the 10-year version of Lambo to ask him questions of like, hey, where's Reborn? And obviously the whole mechanics of the 10-year bazooka and what's the functions of it, right? Truly the functions of it. So when he goes there, he sees Lambo just lying down, picking at his nose, playing with feathers and all of that stuff. He's asking Lambo, hey, can you shoot yourself with the 10-year bazooka? I need to speak to the 10-year version of yourself. Lambo knows nothing about the 10-year bazooka. And so this is where he starts wrestling with him. He's like, I see it poking out of your hair, your afro. Let me just use it so I can start asking you questions. So they're both grabbing at the bazooka and everything. And then Lambo's like, you know, you can't do that. I don't use it all the time. Suna is arguing back saying, you use it every single chance that you get. What are you talking about that you're not supposed to be using it like that from your boss? Then Lambo accidentally again pulls the trigger. Mind you, the bazooka is literally frontal of Suna. The opening of the bazooka is literally directly in Suna's face. Now imagine if this did not make you swap places with your 10-year self. In the worst case scenario, Suna would have lost his upper half. Okay? But this also was a comedy gag series before it went into an action series, right? So Lambo he accidentally pulled the trigger, shot Suna, and then all you see is a few panels of Suna literally traveling through space and time. Okay, he's floating in like white air, and then he's like, hold on, I just got hit with the bazooka, and then he's screaming, and then all you see is a black panel, and then he's like, why is it so dark? Seems something is moving, and then he's removing this lid off of him, and then he's like, the place smells like flowers, I'm wondering where I am. Then when he wakes up and he looks around, he realizes he's in a coffin. He switched with his 10-year future self that was in a coffin. And then, before he can really process what's going on, a familiar figure walks to him. And that's where it ends. Now you can obviously tell what the familiar figure by the hairstyle itself. And they already kind of spoiled it in chapter 135, the cover chapter. But it's Gokudera. Gokudera found a 10-year younger Suna in the coffin. So that says Suna passed away 10 years into the future. And not only that, when you take notice of the coffin, this is a key thing. The coffin had the Vongola symbol on it. It had the Vongola insignia on it. Meaning, Suna joined the Vongola. He became the Vongola boss in the future. And he passed away. The one thing that Suna was scared of came to get him in the end. Just leave you with that food of thought. Guys, do tell me in the comment section below how you felt about chapter 136 of Katekyo Hitman REBORN. What do you think Suna is going to be asking the 10-year version of Gokudera of what's happening to him? What happened to the Vongola? Where is Reborn? Do you know if you saw him? Is Reborn okay? All of that jazz. If you already watched and read the series, of course, no spoilers. But do tell me, what do you think when the first time you saw this happen? What were your thoughts on this particular moment when you read chapter 136 or probably chat episode 77 or 78 of the anime, do drop that in below. The links are in the description box as well. Full video will also be on my Patreon, so you can go there and check it out as well. And the support is greatly appreciated on all platforms. And I'm Kimmy-chan, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!